Every eye in the Grand Chamber followed Ambassador Elena Vasquez as she stepped into the center of the Galactic Council. The vast circular hall rose hundreds of meters overhead, its towering balconies packed with representatives from every corner of known space. Scaled diplomats watched in silence. Fur-covered delegates leaned forward with open curiosity. Crystal-bodied elders shimmered beneath the chamber lights like living gemstones. Yet despite their countless differences, they all shared the same expression when they looked at the lone human: quiet sympathy. To them, humanity had already lost. From the highest platform, High Counselor Thexar slowly rose to his feet, his voice echoing through the immense chamber. Ambassador Vasquez. His reptilian features showed no emotion, but his voice carried a tone of finality. The Council has heard your request for military assistance. We have made our decision. Elena felt her heart sink, but she kept her face neutral. She had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 5 years now. In that time, she had learned to read the room. This was not going to go well. The Krillin Empire has issued a legitimate territorial claim, Thier continued. While we understand your people have settled those 3 worlds, the Crayons discovered them first, according to ancient star charts. The Council recommends you negotiate a peaceful transfer of the colonies. Negotiate? Elena's voice was calm, but inside she was burning with anger. High Counselor, the Crayons are demanding we abandon 3 worlds where 15 million humans live. They've given us 48 hours. That's not negotiation. That's an ultimatum. A massive creature that looked like a floating jellyfish spoke up from the left side of the chamber. Ambassador, your species is new to the galaxy. You must understand that the Crayons are a warrior race. They have never lost a war in 400 years. It is better to give them what they want than to fight. Elena turned to face the speaker. Counselor Vesa, are you saying the Council will not help us defend our own people? We are saying, Thier interrupted, that violence is not the answer. Humanity has been part of this Council for 23 years. In that time, you have shown remarkable skills in art, culture, and diplomacy. You are a soft species ambassador. You have no natural weapons, no armor plating, no great physical strength. The Crayons are 3 times your size with claws that can tear through metal. So we should just give up, Elena asked. We are offering you our thoughts and condolences, another counselor said. But the Council does not interfere in territorial disputes of this nature. Most species find a way to coexist with the Crayons. Fighting them is unthinkable. The doors to the chamber suddenly opened with a loud bang. Warm Master Drathel entered, his massive form filling the doorway. The Kraylin commander stood nearly 3 meters tall, covered in dark red scales that looked like natural armor. His yellow eyes scanned the room before settling on Elena. Ah, the human ambassador, he said, his voice a deep rumble. I came to hear your answer personally. Elena turned to face him, her chin raised. She was barely half his height, but she didn't step back. Warm Master Drathal, humanity's answer is no. We will not abandon our colonies. The chamber fell silent. Several counselors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Drathal stared at her for a long moment, then threw his head back and laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. You fight us. Your species has no fangs, no claws, no strength. You are food animals playing at being soldiers. We are not as weak as we look, Elena said quietly. I have seen your military reports, Drathal said, still chuckling. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are primitive. Your soldiers are fragile creatures that break easily. The Council is right to call you a soft species. He leaned down, bringing his massive head close to Elena's. In 2 days, we will take those worlds. Your people can leave peacefully, or they can die. The choice is yours. Elena didn't flinch. She looked directly into his yellow eyes. Then I suppose you'll learn something about humans that the Council doesn't know. And what is that? Drathal asked, amused. We don't like bullies. Drathal laughed again and turned to leave. Your bravery is admirable, little human. But bravery without strength is just foolishness. My fleet will arrive at your colony of New Britannia in 48 hours. I look forward to your surrender. As the massive Kraylon left the chamber, Thexar spoke again. Ambassador Vasquez, please reconsider. The Crayons have conquered 17 species. They are unstoppable. Elena turned back to the Council. High Counselor, I have a question. In the 400 years the Crayons have been conquering worlds, has anyone ever fought back? Really fought back? Thea seemed confused by the question. Most species engage in some defensive battles, yes. But the Kralins always win. That's not what I asked, Elena pressed. Has anyone fought a total war against them? Has anyone made them bleed for every inch of ground? Has anyone made them afraid? Afraid? Vasha's voice was shocked. Ambassador, war in the galaxy is a civilized affair. We have rules. We have honor. You have rules, Elena interrupted. We have history. 4,000 years of human history is filled with one thing: war. We fought ourselves for so long that we got very, very good at it. Maybe too good. She looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. The Kralins think we're soft because we don't have claws or armor. But humanity learned long ago that the deadliest weapon isn't the one you're born with, it's the one you build. She pulled out a small communication device and pressed a button. This is Ambassador Vasquez. I'm returning to Earth immediately. Inform Admiral Kovich to implement Protocol Omega. Ambassador Thextar said urgently. What is Protocol Omega? Elena looked at him with an expression that made several counselors lean back in their seats. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was something they had never seen from a human before. Cold determination. It's what happens when you back a peaceful species into a corner, she said quietly. The council wanted us to be diplomats. We tried. But if the Crayons want war, then war is what they'll get. Not the civilized kind you're used to. Real war. Human war. You cannot win, Dextar said. Maybe not, Elena admitted. But I promise you this, High Counselor. If we go down, we're taking them with us. And every species in this galaxy will learn a very important lesson about humanity. What lesson? Vashna asked. Elena walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the silent chamber. At the door, she turned back one last time. That we may be soft on the outside, but when you push us, you'll find something very hard underneath. The Kralons wanted a fight. They're about to discover what happens when you pick a fight with a species that spent 10,000 years fighting itself. She left the chamber, leaving behind a council that suddenly wasn't sure about anything anymore. Back on Earth in the United Earth Federation headquarters, Admiral Kovach received the message. He looked at his command staff, all of them waiting for orders. Gentlemen and ladies, he said, his voice steady. The Crayons are coming. The council won't help us, so we do this ourselves. He pressed a button on his console. Begin Operation Retaliation. Show them what humans do when threatened. The staff began moving immediately, pulling up battle plans that had been prepared for years. Plans the council had never seen. Plans that would change the galaxy forever. War was coming, and the galaxy had no idea what humanity was capable of. Warm Master Drathel sat in his command chair aboard the battleship Crimson Fang, watching the view screen with satisfaction. 47 Krillin warships moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming red and black under the light of distant stars. It was an impressive sight, one that had made countless species surrender before a single shot was fired. We are approaching the human colony of New Britannia, his tactical officer reported. The planet is within weapons range. Any response from the humans? Drathal asked. Nothing, Warm Master. No communications, no defensive formations. Their orbital stations are active, but they have made no aggressive moves. Drathal nodded. This was how it always went. The prey species saw his fleet and realized the fight was already over. Soon the human colony administrator would appear on his screen, begging for mercy, offering surrender. Open a channel to the planet, he ordered. The communications officer worked for a moment, then shook his head. Warm Master, they are not accepting our hails. Not accepting? Drathal frowned. That was unusual. Then target their primary city with a warning shot. A single plasma bolt near their Capitol building let them see our power. The weapons officer locked onto the target and fired. A brilliant streak of superheated plasma shot toward the planet. Drathal watched, waiting for the expected result. The plasma bolt never reached the surface. A beam of intense light shot up from the planet's surface, intercepting the bolt and dissipating it in a flash of energy. What was that? Drathal demanded. Analysis shows it was a high-energy laser War Master. But the power level, it's far beyond what our intelligence report suggested the humans possessed. Before Drathal could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Warm Master, multiple contacts. They were hiding in the asteroid field. The view screen changed to show tactical data. 20 human ships, much smaller than the Kralin vessels, were emerging from the nearby asteroid belt. They had been sitting there waiting, completely hidden from Crayon sensors. "How did we not detect them?" Drathel roared. "They appear to have been running completely silent, Wararm Master. No power signatures, no heat emissions. They were drifting like dead rocks." Drathel watched as the human ships suddenly came to life, their engines burning bright. But they didn't move forward in formation like proper warships. Instead, they scattered in all directions, moving in chaotic, unpredictable patterns. "All ships engage the enemy," Drathel commanded. "Show these humans how real warriors fight." The Krillin fleet moved to intercept, their massive ships turning ponderously. The humans were faster, much faster than the intelligence reports had indicated. They darted between the Kron vessels like insects, too quick to track properly. Then the humans opened fire. It wasn't like any battle Drathel had ever seen. There were no formal challenges, no honorable exchanges of fire between matched opponents. The humans simply attacked whoever was closest, firing weapons and then immediately running away before the Kralins could return fire. "Cowards," Drathel snarled. "They won't even stand and fight." But cowardly or not, it was effective. One of his ships, the Bone Crusher, suddenly went dark as a human vessel shot past it at incredible speed. "Bone Crusher, report. Warm Master. We've been hit by some kind of kinetic projectile. It punched straight through our shields and into our engine core. We're losing power." Kinetic projectiles. Drathel was confused. Who used simple metal slugs in space combat? But he quickly realized the problem. The Kralon shields were designed to stop energy weapons. A physical object moving at tremendous speed went through them like they weren't even there. More alarms. Another ship was reporting damage. Then another. The humans were using multiple types of weapons, switching between lasers, missiles, and those devastating kinetic rounds. They weren't giving the Crayons time to adapt their defenses. "Warm Master, we have mines." The humans seeded the space around the planet with mines. 3 Krillin ships on the flank suddenly exploded as they hit the hidden weapons. Drathel felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of warfare: confusion. The humans were fighting without any honor, without any rules. They were using every dirty trick imaginable. A small human ship shot directly toward the Crimson Fang. Drathel smiled. Finally, a direct confrontation. Target that vessel and destroy it. His weapons officer fired, but the human ship suddenly decelerated hard, and the plasma bolt shot past it harmlessly. The ship immediately accelerated again, closing the distance. "It's not firing, Warm Master. It's just flying straight at us." Too late. Drathel realized what was happening. Evasive maneuvers. It's a theme. The human ship slammed into the Crimson Fang's shield at full speed and exploded. But it wasn't a normal explosion. The blast was nuclear. A small fusion bomb that turned the ship into a miniature star. The Crimson Fang shields flickered and died, overloaded by the blast. Shield generators are offline. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. "They're insane!" someone shouted. "They used their own ship as a bomb." Drathel stared at the view screen in disbelief. What kind of species sacrificed their own people like that? What kind of warriors turned their own vessels into weapons? More human ships were approaching now, and Drathel could see small objects dropping away from them. "What are those drones, Warm Master?" "Hundreds of them. They're autonomous attack drones." The small machines swarmed over the Crayon ships like predatory insects, targeting sensors, weapons, and engines. They were too small and too numerous to effectively fight. For every one destroyed, 3 more took its place. Then the railgun barrage began. From positions far outside the battle, human weapons platforms that had been completely hidden began firing. Long metal rods accelerated to incredible speeds came streaking through space, slamming into Kralin vessels with devastating force. "All ships, retreat," Drathel finally ordered. Pride warred with survival instinct. But he wasn't a fool. This wasn't a battle anymore. It was a slaughter. "Fall back to Rally Point Omega." The Crayon fleet turned and ran, their great warships limping away from the human colony. Behind them, 12 Kralon vessels floated dead in space, their hulls torn open by weapons the Crayons had never even imagined. As the Crimson Fang jumped to faster-than-light speed, Drathel stared at the damage reports. 12 ships lost 12, against an enemy with inferior numbers and supposedly primitive technology. His communications officer spoke quietly. "Warm Master, We're receiving a transmission from the human colony. It's being broadcast to the entire fleet. Put it on screen. A human appeared wearing a dark uniform with insignia Drathel didn't recognize. The human had a calm, almost bored expression. This is Captain Marcus Chen of the United Earth Federation. Warm Master Drathel, you came to our home expecting us to surrender. Instead, you learned the first lesson about fighting humans. We don't fight fair. We fight to win. This was just one colony defended by one small battle group. We have 73 colonies and the entire Earth Defense Fleet. The human's expression hardened. Come at us again, and we'll show you what real war looks like. This is your only warning. The transmission ended. Drathel sat in silence for a long time. His warriors were looking at him, waiting for orders. Finally he spoke. Send a message to Empress Shalara. Tell her we need more ships, many more ships. And tell her that everything we thought we knew about humans was wrong. Back on New Britannia, Captain Chen watched the Kralin fleet disappear. His executive officer approached him. Sir, we lost 3 ships, including the one Commander Rodriguez used for the suicide run. I know, Chen said quietly. Make sure their families know they saved 15 million people today. He looked at the damage display showing the 12 destroyed Krillin ships and send all combat data to Fleet Command. Every other colony needs to know how we beat them. Do you think they'll come back? The executive officer asked. Chen nodded. Oh, they'll come back. The Crayons have never lost a war. They won't accept this. They'll come back with everything they have. Can we win against their entire fleet? Captain Chen thought about the question for a long moment. Then he smiled, a cold, hard smile. They still don't understand what they're fighting. They think this is about military strength. It's not. This is about willpower, and humans have been fighting wars of survival since we lived in caves. The Kralons are about to learn what happens when you threaten our homes. The galaxy would soon learn that lesson too. Empress Shalkara sat on her throne aboard the Imperial Dreadnought, her massive form radiating barely controlled rage. The holographic display before her showed the humiliating battle at New Britannia, played back for the 3rd time. 12 ships lost, 12 of her finest warships, destroyed by a species the Galactic Council called soft. This is unacceptable, she hissed, her claws digging into the armrests of her throne. War Master Drathel, explain to me how you lost 12 ships to these prey animals. Drathel stood before her, his head bowed in shame. Empress, the humans do not fight as we expected. They do not follow the rules of honorable combat. They use deception, ambush, and weapons we have never encountered. Then we will bring overwhelming force, Shalara declared. Gather the Grand Armada, 200 ships. We will crush the human colony at Proxima Station and show them the price of defiance. Empress, Drathel said carefully. Perhaps we should reconsider. The humans are nothing, Shalara roared. They are a weak species that got lucky once. With the Grand Armada, we will destroy them completely. No more warnings, no more mercy. We will turn their colonies to ash. 3 weeks later, the largest Kralon military force in 2 centuries gathered at the edge of human space. 217 warships, including the massive dreadnoughts that had conquered worlds. Admiral Kovac watched their approach from the command center on Proxima Station, humanity's most important colony outside the Sol system. Admiral, the Krillin fleet is dropping out of FTL, his tactical officer reported. Confirmed count, 217 vessels. They're forming up at the edge of the system. Are our preparations complete? Kovac asked calmly. Yes, sir. Every defense platform is armed and active. The minefield is deployed. All civilian transports have evacuated, and the special packages are in position. Kovac nodded. He was an older man, his hair gray, and his face lined with decades of military service. He had fought in the Mars Independence War, the Titan Rebellion, and countless smaller conflicts. He had seen humanity at its worst and its best. And he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Humans didn't lose when their homes were threatened. Open a channel to the Crayon fleet, he ordered. Empress Shalkara's face appeared on the screen. Her yellow eyes gleamed with anticipation. Human Admiral, I am Empress Shara of the Kralin Empire. You have 1 hour to surrender Proxima Station unconditionally, or we will destroy every human in this system. Empress, Kovac replied, his voice steady. I need you to understand something. When you attack New Britannia, you started something you don't fully comprehend. This isn't going to end the way you think. Is that a threat? Shalara laughed. You have perhaps 50 ships defending the station. We have over 200. Your threats are meaningless. It's not a threat, Kovic said quietly. It's a warning. You can still turn back. Go home. Tell your people you changed your mind. There's no shame in choosing peace. The only peace will be after we have conquered your species. Shar snarled. 1 hour, human. Then we attack. The transmission ended. Kovac turned to his command staff. Well, we tried. Now we show them what total defense doctrine really means. Give the order. Unleash hell. When the Krillin fleet advanced, they expected resistance. What they got was chaos. The minefield was far more extensive than anything at New Britannia. Thousands of mines, some of them nuclear, created a wall of explosions that destroyed the first wave of Crayon ships before they even reached weapons range. But the Crayons pressed forward, using their numbers to push through. Then the defense platforms opened fire. But these weren't normal weapons. The humans had been busy during the 3 weeks since New Britannia. Every platform had been fitted with antimatter warheads, fusion lances, and electromagnetic pulse generators. The Crayons had never seen antimatter used as a weapon before. When matter met antimatter, the explosion was devastating. 3 Kral dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist, converted to pure energy and blinding flashes. What is that weapon? Shalara screamed at her science officer. Analysis shows it's antimatter Empress. They're annihilating matter itself, but the antimatter weapons were just the beginning. As the Crayon fleet pushed deeper into the system, human ships appeared from behind Proxima Station's moon. These weren't the small, agile vessels from New Britannia. These were proper warships, and they opened fire with railguns that shot projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The Crayons fought back fiercely. Their plasma cannons and particle beams tore into human ships, destroying them one by one. But for every human ship lost, they took down 3 or 4 Crayon vessels. The humans were trading their lives for maximum damage, and they were doing it efficiently. Then something happened that no Crayon had ever experienced. Their ship's computer systems began failing. Screens went dark, weapons refused to fire, life support flickered. We're under cyber attack, a technician shouted. Some kind of computer virus is spreading through our network. The humans had weaponized information warfare. Their hackers had found ways into Kron systems, and now they were shutting down ships from the inside. Dead vessels floated in space, their crews helpless as human ships picked them off one by one. But perhaps the most disturbing weapon was the psychological one. Every Crayon ship was receiving transmissions, battle songs from human history, images of previous Crayon defeats, intercepted communications played back to demoralize the fleet. The humans were attacking their minds as well as their ships. One transmission particularly disturbed Drathal, who was commanding a section of the fleet. It was a human voice, calm and measured, speaking in perfect Kryn language. You are the Krillin Empire, undefeated for 400 years. But do you know why you've never lost? Because you never fought anyone who truly fought back. Every species you conquered gave up after a few battles. They valued survival over victory. We don't. We are humanity, and we have been killing each other for 10,000 years. We know 1,000 ways to destroy an enemy. We have studied every battle, every war, every conflict in our history. We turned warfare into a science. And now you will learn what that means. The transmission then began listing human battles. Thermopylae, where 300 held off thousands. Stalingrad, where humans fought over every building. The Somme, where millions died. Hiroshima, where humans unleashed the atom. Battle after battle, war after war. A species that had spent its entire history perfecting the art of killing. The Crayons suddenly understood what they were facing. Most species in the galaxy had been peaceful for millennia. The Krayons themselves only fought wars of conquest every few decades. But humans, they had been in almost constant warfare for their entire existence. They hadn't just studied war, they had lived it, breathed it, perfected it. The Battle of Proxima Station lasted 16 hours. When it was over, Empress Shalara stared at the casualty reports in disbelief. 89 ships destroyed, 89. And yes, the humans had lost too. Proxima Station was heavily damaged, and 34 human warships had been destroyed. But the station still stood, and human reinforcements were already arriving. But what terrified Shalara most was what happened next. As her fleet limped away to regroup, She received reports from the Crayon border worlds. Human ships had appeared attacking supply depots, fuel refineries, and communication stations. Small, fast strike forces that hit and ran before the Krayons could respond. The humans weren't just defending anymore, they were attacking. On Earth, Ambassador Vasquez addressed an emergency session of the Galactic Council. High Counselor Thexar and the other members watched in stunned silence as she presented footage from the Battle of Proxima Station. The Crayons came with overwhelming force, Vasquez said. They expected us to break. Instead, we showed them that humanity doesn't surrender. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. She looked around the chamber. The council advised us to negotiate. We tried. You told us the Crayons were unstoppable. We disagreed. Now, for the first time in 400 years, the Crayon Empire is facing attacks on their own territory. Ambassador, Dextar said slowly, what are your intentions? Our intention is to survive, Vasquez replied. If that means teaching the Krons a lesson they'll never forget. So be it, she paused. And let me be clear to every species watching this transmission. Humanity will defend itself and its allies with every weapon at our disposal. We prefer peace, but if you bring us war, we will show you what a species forged in conflict can do. The chamber was silent. The soft species had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy, and the Crayons were learning far too late that some prey animals have very sharp teeth. Commodore Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the UEF Retribution, watching the tactical display as his strike force moved through Krylon space. He had been promoted twice since the Battle of New Britannia, and now he commanded a fleet of 30 ships tasked with one mission: make the Crayons hurt. Sir, we're approaching the Kel 7 fuel refinery, his tactical officer reported. No defensive fleet detected, just some orbital defense platforms. Good, Chen said. Deploy the drones and take out those platforms. I want that refinery destroyed in 15 minutes. The attack was swift and brutal. Human drones swarmed the defense platforms, overwhelming them with numbers, while the Retribution's railguns punched through the refinery's hull. Within minutes, the massive structure that provided fuel for dozens of Krillin warships was a spreading cloud of debris. Jump to the next target, Chen ordered. Don't give them time to respond. This was the new human strategy. Don't fight the Crayon fleet directly. Instead, destroy everything that kept the fleet running. Fuel depots, supply stations, shipyards, communication relays. The humans called it strategic bombing. The Crayons had never seen anything like it. On the Crayon homeworld, Warm Master Drathel sat in a strategy meeting with Empress Shalara and her senior commanders. The mood was grim. They've destroyed 12 supply depots in the last week, one commander reported. Our fleet is running low on fuel and ammunition. We can't maintain offensive operations if we have to protect our supply lines. Then hunt them down, Shalara roared. Send our fastest ships after these human raiders. We've tried, Empress, Drathal said quietly. Every time we dispatch ships to intercept them, the humans are gone before we arrive. They strike and disappear, and when we do catch them, they fight with such ferocity that we lose more ships than we can afford. He pulled up a tactical display showing the latest engagement. This was yesterday at the Tharun shipyards. A human strike force of only 12 ships attacked. We had 30 ships defending. We destroyed 5 of their vessels, but they still managed to destroy the entire shipyard before escaping. They lost nearly half their force, but they considered it an acceptable price. Acceptable? Shalara's voice was incredulous. What kind of species considers losing half their force acceptable? One that values the mission more than individual survival, Drathel replied. Empress, I have studied the humans since New Britannia. I've watched all their historical battle records we could obtain. They have a concept they call total war. It means using every resource, every tactic, every weapon to destroy the enemy's ability to fight. They don't just want to win battles. They want to make it impossible for us to continue the war. Another commander spoke up. We're also facing problems on the Homeront. Empress, the humans have blockaded 3 of our colony worlds. They're not attacking the planets, but they're preventing supply ships from reaching them. Our colonies are running out of food and medicine. This is not warfare. Shalara slammed her fist on the table. This is terrorism. Where is the honor? Where is the dignity? They fight like cowards. They fight to win. Drathal said, that's all that matters to them. Across the galaxy in the Galactic Council chambers, High Counselor Thexar was meeting with Ambassador Vasquez. The atmosphere was tense. Ambassador, the Council is concerned, Thexar said carefully. Your military operations against the Crayons are becoming quite extensive. We're defending ourselves, Vasquez replied. The Crayons declared war on us, remember? Yes, but Beakstar struggled to find the right words. You're not just defending, you're attacking their infrastructure. You're blockading their colonies. This is unprecedented. So was attacking our colonies with 200 ships, Vasquez said calmly. Counselor, you told us we couldn't win against the Crayons. You were wrong. Now we're showing them that attacking humanity has consequences. There are reports of food shortages on Kraylan colonies. Another counselor interjected. Civilians are suffering. And whose fault is that? Vasquez's voice hardened. We didn't start this war. We didn't threaten anyone. The Crayons came to us with demands and threats. Now they're learning what happens when they pick a fight with humanity. If their civilians are suffering, Empress Shalara can end this war anytime she wants. Thextar leaned forward. What are your terms for peace, Ambassador? The same as they've always been, Vasquez said. The Crayons must withdraw all claims to human territory. They must pay reparations for the damages they've caused, and they must accept human observers in their military command structure to ensure they never do this again. Those terms are extremely harsh, Thier said. So was losing hundreds of our people at Proxima Station. Vasquez replied. The Crayons wanted war. They got it. Now they'll live with the consequences. Back in Crayon space, Drathol was leading a defensive fleet, protecting the moon of Cray Prime, the capital world. Intelligence suggested a major human attack was coming, though they didn't know where or when. Warm Master, we have incoming ships, the sensor officer suddenly shouted. 30 human vessels approaching at high speed. Drathol felt his blood run cold. 30 ships. That was Commodore Chen's strike force. They had destroyed more Kraylan infrastructure than any other human unit. All ships, battle stations, Trackthal ordered. Deploy defensive formations. Protect the orbital facilities at all costs. The human ships came in fast, their weapons already firing. But something was different this time. They weren't trying to hit and run. They were committing to a full battle. They're targeting our command ship, someone shouted. Drathol watched as Chen's flagship, the Retribution, came straight at him. This was personal now. Two warriors, who had faced each other across multiple battles, were finally meeting head-on. The battle was fierce. Drathol's fleet outnumbered the humans 2-1, and this time, they had been prepared for human tactics. The Kraylons fought well, using their superior numbers to surround the human vessels. But the humans fought with a desperation and skill that Drathol had to admire, even as he tried to destroy them. Every human ship seemed to know exactly where to be, exactly when to fire. They moved like a single organism, covering each other's weaknesses and exploiting every Kraylan mistake. Chen's voice suddenly broadcast across all frequencies. Warm Master Drathol, this is Commodore Chen. I wanted you to see this. See what, human? Drathol demanded. Behind you. Drathol spun to look at the rear tactical display. His blood froze. While he had been focused on Chen's strike force, 30 more human ships had emerged from FTL right on top of the orbital facilities they were supposed to protect. It was a diversion, Drathol whispered. The entire attack was a diversion. The second human force tore through the orbital infrastructure like wolves through sheep. Manufacturing plants, supply depots, shipyards, all of them exploded in rapid succession. The moon's defenses were completely unprepared for an attack from that direction. All ships, protect the facilities, Drathol ordered. But it was too late. By the time his fleet could disengage from Chen's force and turn around, the damage was done. The moon of Cray Prime, visible from the Crayon homeworld itself, was now a graveyard of burning installations. As the human forces retreated, Chen sent one final transmission. Warm Master, you're a good warrior. Your people fight with honor. But honor isn't enough. Tell your Empress that if she doesn't surrender soon, the next strike won't be on your moon. It will be on Cray Prime itself. And we have weapons you haven't seen yet. Weapons we pray we never have to use. End this war. Dragthal sat in his command chair, staring at the destruction around him. His officers were silent. They had just witnessed human forces strike at the heart of Kraylon space, within sight of their homeworld. The psychological impact was devastating. For the first time in 400 years, the Krillin Empire was afraid. On Cray Prime, riots broke out in the streets. Citizens demanded to know why their mighty military couldn't stop the humans. Food shortages were causing unrest. The blockaded colonies were crying out for help. And every day, more news came of human attacks. More Kraylan ships lost. More facilities destroyed. Empress Shalara sat alone in her throne room, watching reports from across her empire. Her military commanders were telling her they needed to negotiate. Her civilian advisors were warning of economic collapse. Her intelligence officers were showing her data that proved the humans had barely begun to use their full military capacity. War Master Drathal entered the throne room, his posture showing defeat. "Empress," he said quietly, "I must tell you something difficult. We cannot win this war." Shar looked at him with tired eyes. "Explain." "The humans don't fight for glory or conquest. Drathal said they fight for survival. And a species fighting for survival will use every weapon, every tactic, every advantage they have. We fight with honor. They fight to win. And in the end, winning is all that matters." He paused. "If we continue, they will destroy us. Maybe not in one battle, but slowly, methodically, they will tear apart everything we've built. We must surrender." The mighty Krillin Empress, ruler of an empire that had never lost a war, bowed her head. "Contact the human ambassador," she whispered. Tell her we wish to negotiate." The conference room on the neutral station of Haven 7 was silent as the two delegations faced each other across a long table. On one side sat Empress Shalkara, War Master Drathal, and the Kalon Diplomatic Corps. On the other side, Ambassador Elena Vasquez, Admiral Kovich, and Commodore Marcus Chen represented humanity. High Counselor Thextar stood at the head of the table, serving as mediator. His reptilian features showed relief that this war was finally ending, but also confusion about how it had ended this way. "Empress Shalara," Theor began, "you have requested this peace negotiation. Please state your terms." Shalara's voice was heavy with defeat. "The Krallon Empire withdraws all territorial claims on human worlds. We will cease all military operations immediately. We ask only that the humans do the same, and allow our blockaded colonies to receive humanitarian aid." Vasquez nodded slowly. "We can agree to that, but there are additional terms. The Krins must pay reparations for the damages caused during this war. You must reduce your military fleet by 40%, and you will accept human military observers for the next 10 years to ensure compliance." "Those terms are harsh," Shalara said. "So was attacking our colonies with overwhelming force," Vasquez replied calmly. "You started this war expecting an easy victory. You got something very different. These are the consequences." Drathal spoke up. "We accept the terms, all of them." Shalar looked at her War Master Aster in surprise, but he met her gaze steadily. "Empress, we lost. Continuing to fight will only destroy us completely. The humans have shown restraint by not attacking Cray Prime itself. We should be grateful for that mercy." "Mercy?" Shalara said bitterly. "Is that what you call it?" "Yes," Chen said, speaking for the first time. "Because we could have destroyed your homeworld, Empress. We had weapons positioned to do exactly that. Nuclear weapons, antimatter bombs, kinetic strikes from orbit. We could have killed billions of your people, but we didn't." The room went completely silent. Even the Thexar looked shocked. Chen continued, his voice calm but firm. "You see, that's the difference between us and you. You fight for conquest and glory. We fight to protect our homes. When our homes are safe, we stop fighting. We don't need to humiliate you or destroy your civilization. We just need you to leave us alone." Drathal studied the human Commodore for a long moment. "May I ask you a question, Commodore Chen?" "Of course, Yao. How did you do it? How did a species with no natural weapons, no great physical strength, become so effective at war?" Chen was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. "Because we had to. Empress War Master, you said we have no claws or armor. That's true, but what we do have is intelligence and creativity. When our ancestors were weak, they built weapons. When they faced enemies, they developed tactics. When they went to war, they studied every battle to learn how to fight better next time." He pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's history. "For 10,000 years, we fought each other. Tribe against tribe, nation against nation, ideology against ideology. We fought with sticks and stones, then swords and spears, then guns and bombs, then nuclear weapons, and beyond. Every generation of humans learned from the previous one's wars. We turned warfare into a science and art, a terrible necessity. The display showed battle after battle, war after war. The crayons watched in growing horror as the sheer scale of human conflict became clear. We didn't want to be good at war, Chen said quietly. We had to be, or we would have gone extinct. So we studied, we practiced, we remembered every battle, every tactic, every strategy. We wrote it all down and taught it to the next generation. By the time we reached space, we had 10,000 years of military knowledge. When you attacked us, you weren't just fighting the United Earth Federation. You were fighting the accumulated wisdom of every human warrior who ever lived. Drathel nodded slowly. I understand now. We were warriors who fought occasionally. You are a species of warriors who learned to live in peace. But the knowledge never left you. Exactly, Vasquez said. We prefer peace, War Master Aster. We truly do. But when peace is not an option, we remember everything our ancestors taught us about survival. The treaty was signed an hour later. The Krillin Empire agreed to all human terms. The blockades were lifted, allowing humanitarian aid to reach Kran colonies. Human ships began returning home, their mission complete. 1 week later, Ambassador Vasquez stood before the Galactic Council once more. This time, the atmosphere was very different. Every counselor was paying close attention, and several new species had sent representatives specifically to hear her speak. Members of the council, Vasquez began, the war with the crayons is over. They have surrendered unconditionally and agreed to our terms. But I'm not here to celebrate a military victory. I'm here to speak about the future. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of species. When the crayons threatened us, we asked this council for help. You refused. You told us we were a soft species that couldn't possibly win a war against a military superpower. You were wrong, but I don't blame you for that mistake. You judged us based on our appearance, our culture, our peaceful nature. You didn't know what we were capable of because we had never needed to show you. Thexar shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Now you know, Vasquez continued. Humanity can fight. We can fight very well. But that's not the lesson I want you to learn today. She paused, her voice becoming firm. The lesson is this: never threaten humanity or its allies. If you do, we will defend ourselves with every weapon and every tactic we possess. But if you come to us in peace, if you offer friendship and cooperation, you will find no more loyal ally in the galaxy. A counselor from a small, relatively weak species raised a tentative hand. Ambassador, my people have long been threatened by larger, more aggressive species. Would humanity be willing to help defend others? Vasquez smiled. That depends. Are you willing to stand with us as true allies? Because that's what we offer, not protection in exchange for subservience, but partnership between equals. If you're willing to defend us, we're willing to defend you. Within an hour, 12 species had requested formal alliance talks with humanity. Within a week, it was 30. Species that had been victims of aggression for centuries suddenly saw a new option. Ally with the humans who had proven they could win wars against overwhelming odds on Cray Prime. Drathal met with Commodore Chen for a private conversation after the treaty signing. They sat in a small room, just two warriors who had faced each other in battle. I have to know, Drathal said. Did you enjoy the war? Chen looked surprised by the question. Enjoy it? No. War is terrible. We lost thousands of good people, ships, homes, families destroyed. There's nothing to enjoy about that. Then why are you so good at it? Because not being good at it means extinction, Jen replied. We learned early in our history that the species who couldn't fight didn't survive. So we became very, very good at surviving. He paused. But here's the thing the crayons never understood. We can separate war from hatred. We fought you because you threatened us, not because we hate your species. Now that the war is over, we can move forward. Move forward. Drathal was confused. In 50 years, War Arm Master, our grandchildren might be allies. Humans don't hold eternal grudges. We fought, you lost, we made peace. That's how it works. We don't need to be enemies forever. Drathal thought about this for a long time. That is very strange. In Kraylan culture, an enemy is always an enemy. Then maybe it's time to learn a different way. Chen said, You're not our enemy anymore. You're just another species trying to survive in a big galaxy, same as us. As news of the human victory spread through the galaxy, the effect was dramatic. 3 aggressive species that had been planning expansionist campaigns suddenly abandoned them. They had watched what happened to the Crayons, and they had no desire to face human retaliation. At the same time, humanity's reputation transformed overnight. They were no longer the soft species good at art and diplomacy. They were now the species that had defeated the Kryn Empire, something no one had done in 400 years. More importantly, they were the species that had shown mercy and victory, that had stopped fighting as soon as their enemies surrendered. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted. 6 months after the war ended, a new alien civilization called the Zathari attempted to bully a human trade convoy passing through neutral space. The Zathari captain sent an aggressive message, demanding tribute and threatening to destroy the convoy if they didn't comply. The human convoy captain, a merchant named Sarah Luo, simply transmitted a single file labeled Crayon War Archive. The file contained footage from the war, battles, destroyed ships, the devastation of Crayon infrastructure, and finally the surrender ceremony. The Zathari ships immediately withdrew, without another word. On Earth, in a quiet cemetery where fallen soldiers were buried, Admiral Kovac stood before a memorial wall. It listed the names of every human who had died in the war. Hundreds of names. Good people who had given their lives to protect their species. Vasquez joined him, standing in silence for a moment. "Was it worth it?" Kovac asked quietly. "Thank you for watching, and comment for next part."